was just terrifying experience for everybody. And I was fortunate. I mean, I'm here to say I was fortunate. There was those that weren't fortunate. My heart still goes out to them, and I pray for their families and their healing. It's an awful thing to have to experience the loss of a loved one, especially in a senseless act like that. It was so deliberate, and so awful. And there was many people there doing just like me, just starting their day, going to do their thing. This fall was coming. It was a gorgeous day, going to work, doing whatever it is they do to go back home to their loved ones and family, and they just never made it. So it made a big stir in me. It made a big change in inside of me. But before it actually affected me to write a book, which I did write, called Cooking Inspired. I had to leave the area because I had a wife home pregnant. The air quality was considered to be really bad. We lived right across the street from where the two blown up World Trade Centers were, and we had to move. So we moved from that part of New Jersey to where my mother was, which was like half hour away, and then eventually I took a job in Miami, Florida, and we moved down to Miami and we started to begin all over again. And I moved my whole career and everything down there. The restaurant that I was waiting for opened up like 2 years later. And I wasn't going to go back to Manhattan and work anyway. After all that, I needed a break. And that's my connection with 9/11 in a nutshell.
It's so interesting hearing stories, even all of these years later, of people like you who were right there when it happened, or just how it's impacted so many people over the years. You mentioned the memoir that you wrote. Tell us about the way that food has helped with your healing.
Well, I'm a chef, and for years, even prior to 9/11, going through my own life's adversities and hardships, I found that food enlivened me to actually change my life for the better in my younger years when I actually chose the path of culinary arts and becoming a chef. So just the simple acts of sauteing, chopping, dicing, washing the ingredients, all that stuff. When I was younger, being kind of like a wayward teenager, like most of us are in suburban America, especially back in the 80s when I grew up, um, it kind of gave me a sense of healing and purpose to overcome the things in my life that were boggling me down in a big way. I had parents that were divorced. I had a drug addiction that was taking over my life, and I had personal things, personal traumas, and things that I was stuffing down with the wrong ways of going about it. So when I took a job, my dad actually took me to get a job in a supermarket of all places, but it was considered a high end super. It was like a Whole Foods of its day. And I started. I didn't want to go. Didn't want to work there. Didn't want to do anything with food. I could care less. And I come from a family that was like big foodies or anything, but like it was a job. They were hiring, and my dad basically shoved me in there. And I found like all these new flavors and tastes, and I found not only did I enjoy learning about like ambrosia salad and German potato salad and all these different things I've never and gefilte fish and smoked salmon. I had no idea that this stuff existed. I started to say to myself, not only do I enjoy learning these new tastes, but I want to know how to make it. Like I want to make this stuff. So a lot of the chefs that worked in this store, they went to culinary school. They went to the CIA or other great culinary schools throughout the country, and they kept saying to me, "You have a knack for this. You have a great natural ability. You should look into this as a career for yourself and all that stuff." And that's really how I began to change. So that as I started moving through my life, I used to say to people, you can use food as a catalyst to pull yourself up out of certain circumstances, pull yourself up by those bootstraps. When you have no bootstraps to pull yourself up from, by using the simple fundamental acts of cooking, it takes your mind off of whatever it is that's pressuring on you, and you got to focus, because if you can't focus on what you're making, you're not going to make it good to eat. Because we all know the first thing to go out the window when we hit a hard time, a breakup, a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, is we just don't eat right. It's real easy to just grab an orange soda and a bag of potato chips and call it a day. and then your brain isn't getting the nourishment that it needs to think of a way to get better, feel better, orchestrate a way out. So if you can just make the most fundamental things, I used to say to people, like, you don't even want to go to a grocery store when you don't feel right. You don't even want to walk in there and be bothered with people. So I would say, look, you do it like actually you're running like a marathon. You go in, you stay out of the center aisles, you stay along the periphery where all the good food is. Just grab yourself a chicken breast and an onion and run out. All right. So now you got a chicken breast and an onion. You can saute a chicken breast. You chop the onion up real quick. You saute your chicken breast. You throw the onions in. You add, now you don't have to get fancy. I'm a fancy chef, and I'm not even going to get fancy here. This is just fundamental getting yourself feeling good and eating right and getting nourished. So you put the chicken breast in your saute pan. You throw the onions on top. You add like a quarter cup of water. Forget the fancy wine and all that stuff. You put the lid on it. You put it on medium, and you let it rock. And if you don't feel good and if you've been going through a hard time, you know how difficult even that alone is. But when you open that lid and you smell that aroma, it enlivens you because cooking enlivens all five of our senses and gets us really connected. So now all of a sudden, your mind is off of that breakup or off of that loss of job for a few short seconds. And then you're nourishing yourself with some protein and something tasty in your mouth and your tongue rather than sugar and potato chips or whatever you've been, fast food, McDonald's. You're nourishing yourself, and that therefore is the beginning, the catalyst of getting yourself back on track and feeling good again. So that's really my the crux of my book, but for cooking inspired. But it's really my journey, which could be your journey, it could be anyone's journey. We all go through the same things. We all go through the same turmoils. Maybe they're different in terms of what you experience, but we all get to that point where we're stuck and we just can't move. Whatever got us stuck, and to get unstuck, I thought, this is what I did as a chef and someone that was working with food at a young age, and it worked for me, and it could work for other people too. So I wanted to put it in a book and get it out there finally, and thank God I did.
Yeah, it's true. And we're all different. We all go through different challenges, different events in our lives. But, there's two constants. One, you have problems. And two, we all got to eat. So this is a really interesting
Yes, exactly.
concept. Where do you send people for some more information about the book?
For more information about the book, you can go to my website, francolania.com, and the book should be out by the holidays. And after that, it should be on Amazon and all the channels where you could find great books.
Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story today.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here.